that we run a company, my colleagues run companies where there are standards and practices, where there is a review, and we live in a world, as you point out, where there is infinite ability on the part of young people, old people, to access any content, objectionable or not. We try to put it in context, but there's a larger problem here that is not just about the media, it's about societal problems, and there is no way to control all content, whether we find it objectionable or not. So the role that we play in putting it in context is important.
Mr. Bronfman? Congressman Gonzalez, I would say that the First Amendment and freedom, more importantly, freedom of artistic expression is very important and remains very important to us. But at the same time, and in my testimony, I said that does not absolve us of our corporate responsibility. We cannot rest only on the fact that our artists have a right to freely express themselves. I would also say to you, sir, that in terms of distribution, it is dramatic how our works are now available legally and illegally on almost every possible distribution device and distribution network. On many of those networks, our work sits side by side with all kinds of pornography and other kinds of reprehensible content that has not been overseen. Laws are not being observed, and frankly, we could use your help in trying to police the amount of pirated material that is circulating everywhere, including on Sprint devices and any other mobile or online device. And lastly, I would admit to the same truth that Mr. Dauman did, which is, yes, we run a business, yes, we have owners, we're charged with making a profit, but nowhere in our core values does making a profit come ahead of being proud of what we do, and we're proud of what we do as a company, and we stand behind what we do, even though there are going to be products from time to time that different people in different walks of life will find difficult to deal with. Mr. Morris?
Congressman, I really feel that the music mirrors society. It reflects what's going on in the world. It's very interesting that 95% of the music we put out has nothing to do with rap music, but I'm of the position that music is really a narrator of what is going on in the world, and that's what we have to deal with. I'm particularly angry at the fact that the music business is the only business I've ever heard of that is being destroyed by criminal behavior, and no one has even discussed that. Our business is deteriorated because of the work of criminals who steal most of it. And if you would put on LimeWire, you would have something that would shock you beyond belief. Every song is taken off for free. All the people who work at our company, we used to have 12,000 people working at the company. We have now 6,000. Tower Records, hundreds of stores have closed because of this. In between our music, which is now stolen and everyone loses the money, is an amazing array of child pornography. And it's incredible to me that Congress has not looked into this LimeWire situation, which is truly...
And I'm not saying that we haven't failed in certain respects, but we're just looking today, in particular, to you and to some of the artists and such in a particular area. And I think we actually are failing there. But I will say, you're saying that music sometimes will reflect society and such, but you have tremendous influence. And what you promulgate, you can legitimize that which is illegitimate. You can make that acceptable, which is truly unacceptable. That's what marketing is all about. And we're kidding ourselves, and especially in the society that we live today, that the power of the product and the service that you put out expands markets, makes things acceptable and such. My time is up, and we may have some additional time where the other individual witnesses may respond. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the witnesses.
Mr. Pacello is recognized for 5 minutes.
I'll wait, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Weiner, 5 minutes. Recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that we should also recognize that we in political life are part of the passion play around this issue. We benefit also from our ability to stand up and thump our chest about outrageous music that we hear, and we can talk about how it's degrading our society, and we respond as well. We're part of this echo chamber that goes along with this debate. But I would caution my colleagues who are looking for magic words that sometimes it's very difficult to do it absent a context. You know, if someone wrote in a song, "I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die," would that be seen as outrageous, over-the-top music advocating someone just murdering someone for sheer joy? I don't think anyone would argue that Johnny Cash somehow had a corrosive effect on American culture. But I also think that sometimes you get into areas where I'm not sure I want the gentlemen who are at that table making these calls. I mean, at the explosion of West Coast rap, there was a band called NWA. I'm actually curious, does anyone know, did they choose to abbreviate their name, or did the label force them to? Does anyone happen to know that? I'm just curious. Never mind. We'll talk about it later. The band's called NWA has had a very popular song called F the Police. Dr. Dre and Snoop had a chorus, 187 on an MF Cop, as a chorus to their songs. Now, it's outrageous. I mean, it makes your blood boil, the idea that a chorus of a song would talk about murdering a police officer. But if you look at the context of what was going on in L.A. and police brutality, and that's what people were screaming about and protesting about and talking about, I'm not sure the place to adjudicate it is here or even there. I'm not sure what you do. As troubling as these things are, if you start to say we're going to look at a word, absent the context for those words, absent a real debate and discussion about those words, I'm not sure how you do it. I can tell you something, that when the argument and the public debate was going on about those lyrics, it was the first time many in my social circle was even having these discussions. To some degree, the music did drive a whole discussion about how you deal with issues of police brutality, relationship with all communities in this country. So I would be very careful laying the responsibility at anyone's desk. I don't know, when my colleague, my good friend from Florida, asked that question, I was thinking to myself, I don't know which answer I would like more. Yes, we stop the words from being used, or no, we don't stop the words from being used, or some variation of I convene a panel of people to decide. It's outrageous and mind-boggling to me that there'd be a theme in songs and music and on the internet for people saying don't cooperate with police investigations of crime that are ravaging the same communities these people come from. It's mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling that when you ask an artist about don't snitch, and he says, I wouldn't, how would you respond if a mass murderer moved in next door to you? He said, I'd move. I mean, that's mind-boggling to me. Now, should I be the one who says that's outrageous? No, I shouldn't buy it for sure. But if I can just use my time to ask a question that's come up in the context of Mr. Gonzalez's question. There's no one here representing the internet service providers, where I would argue a larger and larger portion of the music is being distributed, promoted, shared, stolen. And Mr. Morris, you clearly are unaware of a lot of the hearings we have done here and how responsive we have been to the industry's complaints about this and how many hearings we have had, both in this committee and in the Judiciary Committee. But if you decide tomorrow to take the admonition of some of my colleagues and say, we're done, any song that has the F word, if your artist says, okay, I'll take my master and go to the internet, is there anything stopping them from doing that? I guess the music guy's the best answer, Mr. Bronfman.
There is essentially nothing stopping an artist from doing that.
Mr. Morris, is there anything stopping an artist from doing that?
From going to the internet?
Yeah, from saying that if you don't want to put it out, that's fine, Mr. Morris. I'll bypass you and I'll take my music and put it up on dirtylanguagerapper.com and then distribute it that way.
If the artist is signed to one of our labels, we would own that master. But the truth of the matter is, it would be up, it would be out, and by the time the courts adjudicated the matter, it would be history.
Right. All the music is up on the internet.
Right. I mean, and that is now, and there's no, I mean, listen, there's 1,000 different points of contact with citizens at this point, and you can choose any
The music
number.
is being stolen from the internet.
No, I understand, Mr. Morrison. With all, I mean, I love you and I appreciate your being here and everything. That is, if you want to start a different hearing, we can come back for that one. And it's right down the hall. Judiciary is up. I'm a member of that committee, and we can have this discussion there. This is something we wrestle with as well, and frankly, it's a subject for a different conversation. But my time has expired. I thank the panel.
I want to thank the gentleman. Let me just ask. I sit here and I hear you and I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate all of your testimony. But do you agree that there's a problem? And if there is a problem in terms of negative images, then how do you become a part of the solution to that problem? Giving
Chairman?
Let me finish asking the question. Giving your business, the limitations of your business, but also given the extraordinary power that your business have over the minds of particularly young people. How do you become a part of the solution to the problem in our neighborhoods throughout the city? Throughout the country. You know, art imitates life. The images that I see in here are only a slice of life in the hood. I live in the hood. Where's my slice at in the hood? All right, and where are other productive American citizens who are struggling to get an education? Young people, the Rutgers basketball team, where do they get represented at in these commercial images? Mr. Morris?
Well, I think that this was a very a good opening to starting a communication with, I can only speak for my company, and I like the way this has all been done. I feel that it's been done in a respectful, fair manner, and I intend to respond in a respectful, very fair manner, and I certainly appreciate the way that you've handled this. And you will hear from us, and I believe everything starts somewhere, and we did good today.
Is there any other response, Mr. Liggins?
Yeah, I've got 2 points. One, I think that just in financial markets, consumer markets also tend to self-regulate themselves. So as you stated at the outset of the committee gathering here, that you believe that gangster rap is on the downside. In fact, hip-hop sales are significantly tailing off, and I can tell you from an organization that actually plays this music, is immersed in it, that the taste of the community are sort of waning on the current state of hip-hop, and that's not something that we're causing. That's something that the consumer is actually causing and getting tired of, and it's showing in record sales. Second, to Mr. Morris's point, the internet technology, a lot of it, which was the opportunity was created, here on the Hill, has let the horse out of the barn in terms of any of these platforms being able to shield young people from images. It's just, that's the nature of the internet, that's the nature of digital technology, that's done. So from my perspective, if you actually want to sort of police the impact that these images have on kids, you should probably start thinking about curriculums in public schools about pop culture, all right, and analyzing pop culture entities. Analyzing and dissecting pop culture entities and phenomena, and explaining the difference between Britney Spears activities as we currently see them and a normal activity, or a rap song that has something that in it that might be misogynistic or violent in terms of police officer activity, and what a normal behavior might be. And if you start doing that, with 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 10th graders, even if they don't get it at home, at least they're going to get it at school. So you can have a backup for what's not occurring at home. And I think that that's sort of the policing that you guys could really focus on, that I think would make a big difference.
Anyone else? Mr. Dauman?
Mr. Chairman, I think these are complex issues that are raised here today. These are societal issues. Certainly there's a role in media which both reflects and impacts what takes place. You can legislate things like gun control or other issues that affect our youth today, and we certainly air a lot of those issues. We're very proud. There was a mention earlier about BT's history. We're very proud that we have authorized the largest programming expenditure in BT's history to fund diverse programming, ranging from shows like Sunday Best, where we try to find the best new gospel singers around the country, or Exalted, where we celebrate some of the great preachers in our country, to a show called Made on MTV, where we highlight the efforts of youth to find themselves, and so forth. So we We think there is an important dialogue, and we listen to people. We have very segmented audiences. We reach younger, we reach kids with Nickelodeon, and we try to teach them healthy lifestyles, but our schools play a role in that as well. Parents play a role. We reach older kids through MTV and other networks, and we reach young adults through Comedy Central. So we try to take a look at all the different audiences we address, and there's always room for improvement.
My time is up. Unless someone else wanted to respond to the question, but my time is up now, and is there anybody else who have a second question they want to ask? I want to really thank this panel. You have done an extraordinary job. We thank you so much for your time and your participation. Thank you very much, and we will be in discussion with you. This is just the beginning. We intend to engage you in more dialogue and participation and action on this particular problem. Thank you so much. Our next panel will be seated now.
Yeah, that's where I know him. He's really something on the actually. He's having me help me start my cable network. Yeah, so I'm there all the time. Yeah, that's where I know you. He's telling me about it.
Edgar? Good, you did very well.
Thank you. Hey, take it easy, folks. Thank you very much. You got it. Oh, okay.
We played balls like summers and summers.
Yeah, how did I do?
You were doing it, man. You were breaking it. Yeah. Please, the second panel, please be seated. Mr. Lavelle Crump, also known as David Banner. Mr. Percy Miller, also known as Master P. And Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. Please be seated.